So Dark Brandon came and went and then came back again. And I can't quite keep track of whether he's Dark Brandon or is it Light Brandon? I'm not sure what the opposite of just Brandon. It's like when I had my first date with Doug, it went great. And I was calling him Dream Date Doug, shortly thereafter. And then like he kind of like blew me off or didn't call when he said he was going to, and he just got downgraded to just Doug. There was Dream Date Doug, and then there was just Doug, and that's kind of what's happening with Dark Brandon and just Brandon. For those who missed it last Thursday night, Dark Brandon appeared before the black columns and the red lighting, and I'm not a big Star Wars person, but it's the Star Wars thing, I guess. That's what a lot of people saw, and said in part the following.
MAGA Republicans represent an extremism. MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution. MAGA forces are determined to take this country backwards. MAGA Republicans have made their choice. They embrace anger, and MAGA Republicans are to destroying American democracy. MAGA Republicans look at America and see carnage and darkness and despair. The MAGA Republicans believe that for them to succeed, everyone else has to fail.
He added, it wasn't in that montage, they don't believe in the rule of law. They don't respect the Constitution we had in there. But he also added they don't believe in the rule of law. He'd spent a lot of time on they refused to accept the results of a free election. I mean, this is like one of those therapy sessions where, you go in, you say all these things that are actually true about you. And your therapist is like, the person starring in this story is not your, quote, friend, sister. It is you. Heal thyself. I mean, just to go down, like, first of all, respect the Constitution. It's like what he just did with student debt, which he clearly doesn't have the authority to do, and it's going to be struck down. Okay, so we remember that one because it was recent. The eviction moratorium, which even he said he did not have the power to do. The Supreme Court had already said this is unconstitutional, and he knew it was unconstitutional, but he thought he could get us through the summer by doing it. He didn't care that it was unconstitutional. He doesn't have respect for the Constitution. It's his party that's talking about packing the Supreme Court so they can get better rulings. Respect the rule of law. They're the people who they want to protest outside the Supreme Court justices' households, despite the law on the books that you can't do that, and then do nothing when one of them almost gets assassinated. It's just a shoulder shrug. They still want to circulate the guy's addresses online. No problem. Not to mention his vaccine mandate, which was struck down in part by the U.S. Supreme Court. So don't lecture me about this Constitution, Dark Brandon. Because just Brandon is violating it every other day, right? The rule of law, of course, it's like, don't get us started. And he's upset about the January 6th protest, but we've got the Black Lives Matter 2-year event to look at and the riots, which he didn't care about and his party didn't care about. So it's like he's in no position to cast these stones. But the one I want to start with is that how MAGA Republicans look at America and see carnage and darkness and despair. I mean, truly, it's his party that's been trying to inject messages like that into every textbook, every speech about how bad we are and how awful and what sinners and how we can never atone. That's his party. Who would like to take it?
We've had a problem with apocalypticism in American politics for a while now. It predates Trump. Trump supercharged it in many ways, but Bernie Sanders is part of that. Hillary Clinton is part of that. Joe Biden is part of that. Democrats. Populism loves to say at every given moment that this is the inflection point. He said that in the speech. Right now is the inflection point. That our future of our country depends on what we do right now about this speech that just for some reason had to happen in September of 2022. I'm not really sure what the timing of that was all about.
What could be coming?
So we've been living through this for a while, and you're right that he's talking about his own party. He is also talking about Republicans, not all of them. The problem is that the tone of the speech and the language of the speech was this constant confusion. And then he's like, well, no, I'm not talking about all
you faded out. The constant what? Constant what?
Conflation of MAGA Republicans with everybody who doesn't believe in gay marriage or has a different idea about abortion are those. He was talking about MAGA ideology, but he never really flushed it out beyond talking about contraception for some reason and gay marriage and abortion rights. That's not really MAGA ideology, you should know who you're talking to. I'm not sure there's a big, strong MAGA ideology, but I can tell you that one part of it, a fundamental part of it, the through line in Donald Trump's ideological career, and it's held by a lot of the people who support him the most, is against trade agreements. And Biden extended that in the piece. He's like, we're going to make stuff in America again. Okay, so you are actually extending part of the MAGA ideology that you're talking about as such a threat to democracy.
That's a great point.
Including, the Labor Day speech, which was in Wisconsin, which was the site, I think everyone forgets, and I covered at the time, one of the great Trump administration boondoggles of getting Foxconn to come and make screens. Initially, they were going to come make iPhones and they're going to make screens. And then that's been downgraded and they've backed out of this thing from, 1,000 jobs to 100 jobs, that sort of thing. But so, it's very similar in that. It's economically, one of the things that I think all three of us disagree with Trump on most vociferously is the economic policy, which I think has been uniquely bad. But it's really interesting, Megyn, you said at the beginning that people are saying this is a Star Wars kind of imagery. Star Wars is pretty straightforward, and George Lucas was pretty straightforward about it. This was borrowed from the Nazis, from Leni Riefenstahl's film Triumph of the Will, all the red and all the columns and the rest of it. So it seems to me that it was, dare I say, semi-fascist, because it wasn't fully fascist. It was like the minor leagues of fascism. So it was a little semi-fascist. But it is so crazy to suggest that, and you were right when you said, the riots 2 years ago, and Kmele has talked about this, ad infinitum on the fifth column, and we like to bang on about it. But I was in Kenosha the day after the shooting, the Kyle Rittenhouse shooting, all this stuff being burned to the ground. And Trump was there, and he met with the person whose lot was burned down or whose furniture store was burned down. And then later in the day, Joe Biden showed up, and he went and visited Jacob Blake. And he said that Jacob Blake's, the officers involved in that shooting, should be arrested. Now, the stories we found out about Jacob Blake were the opposite of what we initially were told, was that he was unarmed and he was there to help. He was violating a restraining order and he had a knife in his hand. So it's like, these are two parties. And then, look, yesterday I turned this on. I was thinking about this and I turned on TV or was on the internet or something. And I see Roland Martin in one of his ridiculous outfits. I don't know where he gets all these dashikis. They're amazing. And he said that Trump voters, we're at war with these people. We're at war with them. And he said, then, the next line was, these folks are evil. Yes. I mean, don't tell me that there is one dark force in America. I didn't vote for Donald Trump twice. I didn't vote for Donald Trump, and I wouldn't vote for him again. And, I would never, I'm not a fan of the guy. Our podcast has been very critical of him. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, let's keep in perspective here that this thing, and he said, in the speech the other day in Wisconsin, that we used to be a nation of unity and hope and optimism. Bullshit. It's not true. I mean, does anyone remember the Clinton years, the Obama years, the Bush years? I mean, everyone's been called a Nazi. Everyone's been called a fascist. This is the same as American politics has ever been, but with a different way of transmitting information, which is Twitter and getting it real time and getting a warped perception of what the world is about. And this warped perception is being fed by Joe Biden, who's pretending that he's not conflating the 70, 60 odd million people that voted for Donald Trump with these dark MAGA Republicans. He is doing just that. So they must have some sort of internal polling that suggests that banging on about this stuff is going to help them, repeal or push back this red wave, because it is just endless at this point. I mean, this idea that there are fascists at the door, which is obviously ridiculous.
Well, as you know, we're in a recession, and the only way to combat it is to think smarter about how we shop. You're buying meat at the grocery store? You could be buying it so much better. Good Ranchers gives you access to the best meat America has to offer at a price that has not gone up, while all the others have skyrocketed. You don't have to get over your fear of commitment to subscribe with Good Ranchers. You can pause your subscription for up to 90 days, or you can cancel it entirely anytime you want. All right, so it's not really that much of a commitment. You can keep your benefits and your locked-in price without any long-term contracts. Go to goodranchers.com/Megyn, and you can subscribe there and lock in your price. That's smart. Plus, you'll get $30 off your first order, and you get free shipping. Good Ranchers was named the best food subscription earlier this year because they make getting America's best meat and seafood delivered to your door easy, affordable, and safe. Use that code MEGYN Megyn today. Again, that's code Megyn and get your box for $30 off and free shipping. The only thing you're going to love more than the prime steaks, better than organic chicken, and superior seafood of Good Ranchers is the price you get to pay for it forever. GoodRanchers.com/Megyn. Head on over, subscribe. Good Ranchers, American meat delivered. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.